Hello, and welcome to Substance Use Prevention Lesson 9 on Emotional Coping Skills. My name is Amanda, and I'm a health education and health promotion student at Arizona State University. You can feel free to ask me any questions or make any comments by commenting under the lecture videos or sending me a direct message on the Instagram or Facebook pages. This is lesson 9 of a 12 lecture series. Our topic for lesson 9 is emotional coping skills for substance use prevention. In this lecture, we will be talking about mental wellness and the importance of coping skills in substance use prevention. We will look at warning signs and different coping skills that can be used during times of distress. Here we see our 6 student learning objectives for lesson 9. The first is participants will be able to list 3 coping skills and warning signs for changes in mental wellness in writing with 100% accuracy. The second student learning objective is participants will be able to define mental wellness in writing with 100% accuracy. The third student learning objective is participants will be able to list 2 benefits of positive mental wellness in writing with 100% accuracy. Our fourth student learning objective for lesson 9 is participants will be able to list and explain 3 early warning signs that they have experienced in writing with 100% accuracy. Number 5 is participants will be able to list 3 coping skills that they find appealing to practice in writing with 100% accuracy. And finally, our 6th student learning objective is participants will be able to recommend 2 coping skills in writing with 100% accuracy. Here we have our summary for lesson 9. These are the topics that we're going to be covering in this lesson. The first subject is mental health and wellness. After we cover that material, we'll have a reflection and 2 written assignments. The second topic is warning signs. After that material is presented, we'll have a reflection and a written assignment. Our third and final topic will be coping skills. And following that material, we will have a reflection and 2 written assignments. After we cover that, we're going to do a brief review of the material and take a look at some of the most important things to pull from this assignment or lecture. Then we'll review our written assignments for lesson 9, and we'll close out the lesson with an independent practice assignment that is optional for you. So let's just pause and take a moment to think about emotional coping skills. I'd like you to think of a time when you experienced distress. How did you respond to this event? Did you deal with the situation well? Think about exactly what you did to deal with this situation, and then I want you to consider if any of these tactics that you use to deal with the situation would be considered coping skills. Pause the lecture video for a moment, take a look at your experience, reflect on it, and then when you're ready, unpause the video, and we will move into mental health and wellness, which is our first topic. What is mental health? Mental health includes emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And it's important because it affects how we think and feel, how we handle stress, how we relate to other people, and how we make choices and how we act on those choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood up until adulthood. What is mental wellness? Mental wellness is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes their own abilities. In this state of well-being, the individual can cope with normal life stressors. So things that are abnormally stressful wouldn't be considered a normal life stressor. These are your average everyday stressors like going to school, taking an exam, interacting socially with people, um, things like that. A major abnormal life stressor might be something crazy like your house burning down. That would be abnormal. That's not something that happens every day. And hopefully it doesn't happen to you at all. They also are able to be productive. They're able to get things done, achieve what their goals are, and they're able to contribute to their community and have a sense that they're contributing to their community. And why is mental wellness important? Well, it helps people to achieve their full potential. We've seen that up here as well. It helps them to cope with their stresses. And this includes normal life stressors and abnormal life stressors. People who have positive or high levels of mental wellness are more capable and they find it easier to cope with abnormal major stressors in life. Mental wellness also helps them to work productively, whether it's in school or at a job that they have. And they're able to make meaningful contributions to their community, to their social group, to their family, even to the conversation. That could be considered a meaningful contribution. Mental wellness. What does this have to do with substance use, you may be asking yourself? Well, take a moment to recall our previous lessons. We learned in lesson 4 that poor mental health is one of the causes of substance use disorder. We also learned in lesson 6 that poor coping skills is a modifiable risk factor for substance use disorder. So coping skills are something that you can modify. If you have little or no coping skills, you can learn about them and practice them to gain these coping skills and lessen your risk for substance use disorder. If you have a high level of coping skills and you're easily able to apply them in your everyday life, you have a low risk factor for substance use disorder. And remember from lesson 6 as well that this is especially important when someone is experiencing large amounts of stress without any coping skills. Let's just take a moment to reflect on that. Can you think of a time when your mental wellness affected your attitudes or actions? Was it a positive or negative experience? Maybe you felt like you had really positive mental wellness, you felt extra mentally well one day, and you had a very positive attitude, or you you performed especially well that day. Perhaps it was the opposite effect. Maybe you felt really down and you didn't feel so mentally well throughout the day, and you ended up performing poorly in school or having a negative experience. Comment your thoughts and your answers underneath the lecture video and feel free to discuss it with the other participants in the lecture. Here we see our first written assignment. I would like for you to define mental wellness in the comment section below the lecture video. You can also answer or complete the written assignment on Instagram or Facebook as well. And then if you haven't already subscribed to the Instagram and Facebook pages, the Instagram address is @substanceabuseprevention123 with no spaces. And our Facebook page is Substance Abuse Prevention 123 with spaces. So if you haven't already done so, hop on your social media pages and subscribe. Our second written assignment for lesson 9 is to list 2 benefits of positive mental wellness in the comment section below the lecture video. As always, you can comment your answers also on Instagram or Facebook. And I have the addresses for those pages listed here. Now we're going to move into our second topic, which is warning signs. It's important to know the warning signs because with warning, one can begin to implement coping skills before negative outcomes occur. So when you see these warning signs starting to happen in your life, or potentially if you see them happening with your friends or family, you can let them know, or you can let yourself know, hey, I'm starting to exhibit some warning signs, and I probably need to think about how I'm going to cope with whatever is happening in my life. So um, while we're reviewing this, take a moment to think about as we're talking about them, if you've ever experienced them, if you experience them often, and what they feel like for you. One of the warning signs is eating too much or too little. Another one is sleeping too much or sleeping too little. So with these two warning signs, we see changes in normal behavior that are average, everyday behaviors. Every day you eat, every night you sleep. So if you notice that there's something stressful going on in your life, or there's something happening that you're not really coping with, and you start binge eating or just eating a ton of junk food, which is not normally your behavior, or maybe you just have completely lost your appetite, you're not hungry, you're having a really hard time sleeping at night, you're barely getting enough sleep, or maybe you're not getting very quality sleep, tossing and turning, um, or maybe all you want to do is sleep. You just have slept normally you wake up at 8 a.m. and you've slept till noon for the past 5 days. Those could be warning signs. Another one is avoiding people or activities. You might lose interest in social life. Normally, you see your friends every Wednesday to maybe, you meet up with your friends every Wednesday. But it turns out that you just have no interest in seeing your friends and you don't really feel like doing it. Maybe you're on the soccer team and you're losing interest in that normal activity that you do, practicing, going to soccer practice or playing games. That could be a warning sign as well. Having no or little energy could be a warning sign. And I mean, every once in a while, we just have days where we're tired. It's normal to be tired. That's a normal human function. But having significantly low or no energy, especially multiple days in a row, can be a warning sign as well for the deteriorating mental wellness. Feeling numb or feeling like nothing matters, that's another one. If you feel like what you're doing isn't important, if you feel a lack of emotions towards things that normally make you feel happy or even angry, if you just feel like a lack of feeling or like your life is not important, that is a warning sign. Unexplained pains or aches can also be a warning sign of deteriorating mental health. And of course, the key word here is unexplained. If if you have maybe you sprained your ankle and every once in a while your ankle hurts, there's an explanation for that. This would be strange aches, pains, headaches, etc. that don't make sense to you and there's no explanation. Warning sign. And another one is feeling helpless or feeling hopeless. You feel completely hopeless. There's no help for you. You're not sure really where to go or what to do or how to get out of this sense of despair. That's a warning sign, a very clear warning sign. Here are some more warning signs. Abnormal or unusual amounts of fighting with family or friends. Fighting with family or friends, that is a warning sign, especially if it's very uncommon for you to fight with your family and friends, warning sign. Mood swings, going from really happy to really upset, especially without explanation, that's a warning sign. Another one is persistent or unwanted thoughts or memories. This isn't just remembering something that you didn't like or remembering something negative. This is more like kind of an obsessive almost thought pattern. So maybe you think of a time that you embarrassed yourself in front of the class. That's not a warning sign, that's a memory. If you cannot get the thought out of your head and it keeps popping up into your head, you keep obsessing over it and thinking about it and really focusing on it for a long period of time or over, multiple times you keep thinking about this, that could be a warning sign. So the key word here is persistent thoughts or memories. Another warning sign is believing things that are not true. This is different from learning things. For example, if you thought that the world was flat your whole entire life, and then today in science class you learn the world is round, that's not a warning sign, that's learning something. Believing things that are not true is more like if I believed that everybody in my class hates me because I wore a pink shirt today. Well, that's simply not true. That's an irrational thought to have, and that can be considered a warning sign of poor mental wellness and deteriorating mental wellness. Very self-explanatory. Thinking of harming yourself or others, that is a warning sign. And then losing the ability to perform daily tasks. If you normally are able to, simple things really, like doing the dishes or doing your homework after school, and you simply like can't function or just really having a hard time doing it, that could be due to your mental wellness. And lastly, one of the warning signs that we're going to look at in this lesson is unusual negative emotions. Here's just a little example of it. We've got confusion, forgetfulness, feeling on edge, feeling angry, upset, worried, or scared. Now, every once in a while, you're going to experience, and maybe even often, you'll experience one or more of these emotions. If you're faced with a complex problem, you might get confused. Every once in a while, you're going to forget something. Maybe you forgot your homework at school. Maybe you forgot your keys on your dresser. Um, Sometimes you're going to get angry and upset. There's very natural times to be worried and scared. Those are normal human emotions. The key word here is unusual. When you're feeling these at an unusual time, or maybe for no reason at all, you can't place why you're confused, why you're angry, that could be a sign of deteriorating or poor mental health and wellness. We just covered a lot in our warning signs section for this lecture, so let's take a moment and reflect on everything that we just covered. Have you yourself ever experienced any of these warning signs? Or have you seen somebody else, maybe one of your friends or family members, experience these warning signs? Did they come before a particularly bad time for you? Could you tell that it was definitely warning you that your mental health was kind of deteriorating? What did you do in response to these warning signs? Did you just let it rot? Did you just go with the flow and see what happens? Or did you actively try to combat these warning signs, these experiences with some type of positive behavior change? Do any of the warning signs seem worse to you than others? And could you think of any other warning signs? Maybe you've had a different experience that when you experience a certain sensation or a certain feeling, a certain event, that your mental health is kind of, you know, deteriorating. Feel free to comment underneath the lecture videos and discuss with other students. Keep in mind that these are kind of personal questions that I've been asking you about your own mental wellness. So if you're not comfortable with sharing anything about yourself, that's okay. And keep in mind when you're discussing with other people too, that they're discussing some very personal information. So we don't want to come off as judgmental or negative. Let's take a look at our next written assignment. I would like for you to list and explain 3 early warning signs that you yourself have experienced in the comment section below the lecture video. You can also post your answers on Instagram or Facebook. Of course, like I said in the previous slide, these are very personal statements. They're early warning signs that you yourself have experienced. So if you don't feel comfortable sharing them with on the internet with a bunch of people, that's okay. You can direct message them to me on Instagram or Facebook as well. And here our addresses for those pages. The third topic that we are going to cover is coping skills. So these are ways that you can combat any of those warning signs, and these are skills that you can use to cope with the stress or other unpleasant events in your life, or even normal events in your life that happen, and they're ways to improve your mental wellness. So the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services lists a number of ways that you can maintain or improve your mental health. We're going to just touch on these rather quickly and then move into some specific coping skills. One is to get professional help. If you're having a hard time dealing with maybe low levels of mental wellness, it's never a thing to be embarrassed about seeking out therapy or help from a professional who has training in helping you to improve your mental wellness. Connecting with others, staying connected is a major factor in maintaining and improving mental wellness. Trying to keep a positive attitude, staying positive is another way. Getting active physically is also one. Don't forget that your brain is a part of your body too. So if you're mentally not feeling well, try doing some exercise, taking a walk, getting physically active in some way, and it might make you feel better. Helping others is also a way to maintain mental health. Getting enough sleep and getting quality sleep is another way. And a final way that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is to develop coping skills. So we see here how important coping skills are in maintaining maintaining your mental health here. So we are going to take a look at some specific coping skills now. Our first coping skill that we're going to take a look at is brightening your outlook. This is goes right along with our previous side where it says staying positive. Research has shown that people who have fewer negative emotions and people who hold on to positive emotions for longer are more resilient. Resiliency is having the ability to bounce back from negative experiences. Resilient people are able to have a negative experience and they're able to process it, cope with it, and then move on from it. And then get back to a normal state or a positive state. These are some techniques on how to brighten your outlook. You can, and these are just some techniques. There's a number of other ones that maybe you can think of yourself or try yourself as well. Here are some recommendations that I have found on the National Institute of Health's website regarding coping skills. You can make a list of the good deeds that you have done. Make a list of the things that you like about yourself. Make a list of the things that you're grateful for. Generally, the idea here is that you are just focusing on positive aspects of life and positive aspects of yourself. Another one is to forgive yourself when you make a mistake. Mistakes happen, and people make mistakes. It's a common thing in life. When you do make a mistake, you can recognize it. You can think about what you can do to not make the mistake, but don't try not to focus on the mistake and drive yourself crazy about it. Forgive yourself. Mistakes are normal. Another way that you can brighten your outlook is to spend time with people who make you happy. These are your friends and family potentially. If you enjoy being around them, maybe spend some time with them. It'll increase your positive attitude. Another suggestion that they make is to write about or explore your beliefs. Explore your religious or spiritual beliefs if that's something that is important to you. You can also explore the meaning of life or the purpose of life or your purpose in life. And then, of course, healthy physical habits will brighten your outlook as well. Getting enough exercise, eating healthy, and sleeping helps to create a positive attitude and brighten that outlook on life. Another coping skill is learning ways to reduce the amount of stress in your life. We're going to cover this very quickly and not as in depth because lesson 11 in this series is actually going to focus completely on stress management and stress reduction. So we're going to go through this kind of quickly, and keep in mind if you have questions, you can comment them to me, but we will be going much more in depth about stress management and reduction in a later lesson. So the National Institute of Health encourages stress reduction techniques as a coping skill. Stress without coping skills is a risk factor for substance use. Keep that in mind. These are a few ways that you can reduce stress: get enough sleep, exercise, set your priorities, try to think positively, try relaxation methods, and if need be, seek professional help. Another coping skill is to get quality sleep. Sometimes this can be a challenge to people. And sleep affects your physical and your mental health. So it's very important to get enough sleep and quality sleep. Here are ways to get quality sleep. Follow a sleep routine. Go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. Try to sleep in a dark and quiet environment. That might be turning the TV off when you go to sleep, making sure that your curtains are closed so there's not a bunch of light coming into your room. That will encourage you to get quality and more quantity sleep as well. You can exercise daily, which might help you to get tired out, but don't do it right before bedtime because that will kind of wake you up instead of make you tired. Limit the use of electronics right before bedtime. And instead of using electronics, try relaxing before bedtime. There's a number of different ways that you can relax, and that's kind of a personal preference. You can try reading, taking a bath, meditating. There's a number of different ways that people like to relax. And then lastly is avoiding caffeine late in the day. So that does include soda as well. Another coping skill that we're going to touch on is coping with a loss. So these are coping skills that you can use when you're dealing with a loss, when you're dealing with grief. In this case, we're looking at the death of a loved one, but there's a number of times one can experience grief. You can experience grief when a friend or family might pass away, a pet. Sometimes if you lose or give up something that you love, you might grieve that as well. This type of loss can be very overwhelming, and a lot of people find it challenging to deal with. So these are some things that you can do and that can help you to cope with your loss. Remember to take care of yourself. Keep in mind, make it a point to keep doing the healthy things that you regularly do. Eat healthy, get enough rest, and exercise if that's part of your routine. Keep doing the healthy things that you enjoy doing. And try not to pick up new bad habits. The idea is to avoid using substances and avoid engaging in risky behaviors. Talk to your friends or family about your grief or your other feelings. Make sure to share your emotional experiences with others. Another recommendation is not to make major changes or decisions right away. Be patient with yourself. Grieving can take time. You don't have to expect yourself to be sad to get over your loss or being sad or feeling upset right away. Similarly, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you are not, you don't have to grieve for a certain amount of time. If you are not experiencing sadness or any negative emotions, you don't have to force yourself to be sad. And then, of course, if you're having a challenging time dealing with your loss and coping with it, consider additional support. Therapy can be a helpful technique in coping with grief. Another coping skill that we are going to look at is strengthening social connections. We're not going to dive super deep into this one as well, because later in our lecture we're going to focus on social skills and social connectivity. So we're just going to kind of touch on this briefly. Social connectivity is a protective factor against substance use disorder. These are ways that you can strengthen your social connections, share your good habits with family and friends. You can tell them about your good habits, or you can invite them to engage in these habits or behaviors with you. Ask for help when you need it. Join an organization or group. This could be clubs, sports teams, groups of similar interests, religious organizations. There's a ton of options out there. And then lastly, volunteer in your community. A final coping skill that we're going to look at today is being mindful. Mindfulness is the practice of being completely aware of yourself and your surroundings. It can help to reduce stress and increase coping abilities. These are a few ways to practice mindfulness. Take deep breaths, meditation. Even guided meditations can be helpful. If you aren't familiar with meditation, or you're not sure how to meditate, a great place to start is finding some guided meditations. You can look them up on YouTube, or there's other areas and apps that you can find them. And they focus on a variety of different things, and they can kind of help you to start learning how to meditate. Also, try taking a walk. While you're walking, pay attention to what you see, smell, hear, and feel. So just extra pay attention to your sensations as you're walking, instead of like letting your mind wander or focusing on things that are negative or stressful. Mindful eating is another practice that can help you to become mindful or increase your mindfulness. When you're eating, kind of similar to the walking exercise, pay attention to the taste of the food, the texture, and any other sensations that you experience. There's a number of other ways to practice mindfulness and resources to help you increase your ability to be mindful. Yoga and other forms of exercise are one of them. Journaling is another. And I put etc. down here because, like I said, there's a number of different ways, and people express and experience and practice their mindfulness in a variety of different ways. So whatever works for you, works for you. I would like to talk for a moment about coping with disasters. This is an important, these are important coping skills to learn because disasters happen. Disasters and emergencies cause distress and unease for individuals and for entire communities. Right now, at the time that this lecture is being made, we have the COVID-19 pandemic happening, and it is definitely considered an emergency. Other examples of disasters are, like I said, pandemics, natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, things like that. And then large or long-term power outages, other crises that happen are disasters, and they cause a lot of distress, unease, and on occasion panic. So here we see 5 coping skills or tips for coping with disasters. 1 is to limit your consumption of the news. This does not mean don't watch the news at all and don't receive any information on what's going on in your area. It means don't focus on it. Sometimes the news can be a bit negative, and negative information can negatively impact your mental wellness. It can kind of turn your positive attitude negative. Remember, as we've seen multiple times throughout our lecture, getting enough sleep and getting quality sleep is very important. Another tip is to establish and maintain a routine. Wake up at the same time, go to sleep at the same time, but also try to incorporate activities in your day that are kind of normal, and they're done at the same time. And include a fun or positive activity in your routine if you can. During these disasters and these major emergencies and events, try to avoid making major life choices or changes. When you're adjusting to a major change, it can add to the stress and the unease and uncomfortability of your life, and that can become unmanageable when there's outside factors at play. And then lastly, understand and expect that there will be changes. There's going to be times where your routine is interrupted. On a large scale, things are going to change. You might have to end up being schooled at home. Your sports practices might cancel or get changed. There's a variety of things that might have to change. And just try to expect and plan that things are not always going to go exactly the way you planned. And it'll help you to process those changes a little bit easier. Okay, let's take a moment to reflect on all these coping skills that we just covered. Are there any that you have experience with practicing in the past? If you have, did you feel like they were effective? If so, why do you think they were effective? If not, why weren't they effective? What do you think went wrong? Why didn't it help you to feel like you had coped better, more effectively? Are there any of these coping skills that you might like to try? If you already practice them, would you like to continue them? Did you hear of any coping skills in our lecture that you would prefer not to try? Maybe you feel a little bit uncomfortable with them. Go ahead and comment any of your thoughts and answers under the lecture video, and feel free to discuss it with other participants. Now we're going to take a look at our next written assignment. Your assignment is to list 3 coping skills that you find appealing to practice in the comments. So out of all of these coping skills that we've covered, which 3 do you think that you would like to try? You can post your answers under the lecture video or in the Instagram or Facebook pages. You can also send them to me in direct messages on the Instagram or Facebook page. Our next written assignment is I would like you to recommend 2 coping skills based on the given case study in the comment section below the lecture video. I am going to present the case study to you on the next slide. As always, you can answer below the lecture video, you can answer on Instagram or Facebook, or you can send me your response in direct message. Here is our case study. Your friend Jack is experiencing distress and you're worried about him. He's exhibiting early warning signs of mental unwellness. He is not eating enough or getting enough sleep, and he's avoiding his friends and usual activities. Recently, he has seemed confused, forgetful, or angry whenever you see him. Jack has come to you to ask what can he do to increase his mental wellness. Recommend 2 coping skills that Jack could practice to increase his mental wellness in the comment section below the lecture video. Let's take a moment to review all the information that we just received from this lesson. We learned that mental wellness is a state of well-being and is a protective factor against substance use. We also looked at many common early warning signs that can alert you to your deteriorating mental wellness. And we learned that there are many coping skills, emotional coping skills, that can increase your mental wellness and your resiliency. Feel free to rewind the lecture videos and review the early warning signs and our coping skills. Here's a review of our written assignments. We have define mental wellness, list 2 benefits of positive mental wellness, list and explain 3 early warning signs, list 3 coping skills that you find appealing, and lastly, recommend 2 coping skills based on the case study included in the lecture. And feel free to rewind the lecture and take a look at the case study if you need to. You can comment your answers beneath the lecture video. You can comment them on Instagram or Facebook posts, or you can send them in direct message. Here are some of the resources that I used in this lesson. Feel free to explore them, especially if you're interested in emotional coping skills or warning signs or anything to do with mental wellness and substance use prevention. Lastly, we have our independent practice assignment, which is optional. In this independent practice, I would like you to create a poster infographic that lists and depicts 3 coping skills and 3 warning signs for changes in mental wellness. Go ahead and use your creativity. You can create this poster or infographic whichever way you like. You can submit the assignment by posting it to social media and tagging the substance abuse prevention page, or you can submit it in direct message if you'd like. This concludes lesson 9. And I will see you next time for lesson 10, where we will be covering social skills and the importance of social skills in substance use prevention.